Hey everybody, this is Eden, and this is actually an unscripted video because this is a bit of a event, I guess. As some of you may know from my first video with my face reveal defending Wolfie Chew, I talked about someone named Fox under that alias, and all I mentioned was some abuse and the fact that he was an ex, caused an eating disorder and the age difference. I didn't really get too deep into it, mostly because I was afraid that if people from my past found this channel, they would immediately just start calling me a liar and start doing what they did before I left the fandom we were both in and stalk me and harass me and, well, everything far and in between. And I guess I just decided to stop being silent about my abuse. I kept trying to say my story in the fandom and I was always silenced. I kept trying to say my side and I just kept screaming at the top of my lungs. I didn't want to ruin Fox's reputation. I wasn't spiteful. In fact, I wanted to say my side of the story so no one would get hurt. But no one from that area is going to listen to me, but I also need to get this off my chest because this has been weighing on me. Things have come up in my life and things just kind of keep happening, and I guess he did a lot of mental damage, and I think it's time the world knows the signs of a predator, Now, I'm not a child, and I wasn't a child when we dated. I, however, was very barely legal. I had just turned 19, and Fox, well, he's 40. He knew my age, and I didn't really know his until after we started dating. I honestly thought by the way he sounded and acted he was in his 20s, because he does kind of act a little immature. I'm not going to be revealing his name or social media or anything because I don't want a witch hunt. I do just want this to be a vent post. I won't be giving any actual names of harassers or people involved. I will be giving aliases based upon my perspective and emotions on these people, or just something I remember about them, like a color or something to do with them that is an aspect. So let's dive in, I guess. So a lot of breakups usually aren't exactly clean. This is a fact of life. People usually break up, they have bad feelings, they go sour. At least I've never really had a clean breakup, except for like a few cases, but even then, like, it's not, I guess, it leaves you a bit sad. So there's always a clean breakup, and there's always a bad breakup, and then there's the breakup I got, which I would call it a muddy breakup. There could be a dirty breakup, then there's the muddy breakup. The muddy breakup is, well, when your ex gets everyone and anyone against you. Now, he's probably going to reveal himself or vague post because he usually does. We are legally bound not to talk about each other and bring each other up. However, he constantly breaks this rule by vague posting about me, making mentions of me, or he'll do something clever, which is why I call him Fox for his manipulative nature. He'll make it seem like he isn't talking about me, but he'll give clues that you definitely know I'm the one he's mentioning or referring to because of the situation. For God's sakes, he even advertised a hit video on me with my character's image and name and tried saying like, oh, I'm advertising this because this person sings a lovely song in it. And it's like, I'm not an idiot. I know you're talking about me. And I'm not doing this to talk shit about him. I'm not doing this to slander him. I'm not doing this to be a bitch. I'm doing this because I'm sick and tired of this pain. Because this breakup isn't the only thing that happened after the breakup. It followed with a lot of harassment and stalking that I'm still getting to this day. I deleted all of my social media about a month or two ago, and I made, a new Twitter account, a new Tumblr, not Tumblr, Twitter. I haven't made Tumblr. To get away from these people, start a new community, and start a new life. somehow they found me and decided that it was a good idea to tell everyone block me and that I don't deserve social media and I'm a liar and stupid and a bitch and all of these other things because I made a new social media account. It's like I don't deserve anything from these people. And that's what the part of the breakup is. It's so muddy. Is so many people who shouldn't have or didn't have a reason to get involved did. And they'll say they had a reason to get involved. Like, I'm a liar. I'm a manipulator. I'm insane. But the problem is that's their perspective on the situation because they don't believe I was abused. So I'm gonna say my story with Fox, leaving out names completely, making aliases, and I'm gonna let you be the judge to decide because you don't even know these people. It's unbiased, and I just need to say this. So let's set up the scenario of how I met Fox. So I'm currently friends with the person I had an issue with. I think we're friends. We're kind of we're not bad with each other. We don't hate each other. We're not mad. It's just kind of, it's one of those relationships where you don't know if you're friends or not, or if you're just kind of chit chatty. Like, it's weird. But me and my friend, let's call him Crystal. Dark Crystal. I don't know. Something like Psy. We'll call him Psy because they're like cyberpunk. So Psy had some issues with me. I had some issues with him. And shortly before, Psy and I have really had it out with each other. I don't know what it was in the beginning. I think I was just very emotionally unstable and unhinged and sensitive, and he didn't like that. I think he just, I don't know. And we didn't get along at first. And shortly, a little while after Psy and I kind of had it out with each other, I discovered Fox's YouTube channel. Fox, in the fandom we were in, kind of is a drama alert person. And I didn't really know much of his content, but I did know that one of my friends was featured in one of his videos. And we just kind of started, chit-chatting in the comment section. And then Psy, his main thing that he did to me all the time was just tell me KYS, which it did a number on me because I had also just recently gotten out of the hospital for attempted suicide and I was very emotionally unstable and stuff. So I asked him to stop. He didn't. He continued to do so, and I went to Fox and I said, "Hey, your friend is kind of, doing this to me." So Fox set up a Skype call. We had the Skype call. It was all cool. Then we left the Skype call. And then Fox and I started chit-chatting in private together. I didn't really get much of a response from him. In fact, I kind of got this response of, please leave me alone, or I'm perturbed about the fact you're communicating with me. Like how sometimes you're talking to someone or you're typing to them and you could just kind of get this feeling like, oh, they really don't like me, or they just give off this vibe of being bothered by the fact you're talking to them. That was the vibe he gave me, so I didn't really talk to him too often. Then I went to the hospital again for another mental breakdown, and during that time, Psy found my Tumblr, found some personal information about me I don't feel comfortable sharing, some very personal information I'm embarrassed I shared, and, well, this kind of attracted Fox to me in the wrong ways because it was that kind of personal information, if you catch my drift. I'm not gonna say exactly what it is because that's not child friendly, and I'm not sure if children will be watching this video. This will probably be age restricted, but I still just don't feel comfortable sharing it. So I was in the hospital. Fox messaged me once a day. You there? Are you alive? All that stuff. And I finally got out. And he told me he was glad I was feeling better, and then told me Psy was sharing these interests, and he liked them, and liked this in me. I guess I do need to say this part so that you guys can understand the severity of what happened. The thing that happened was, I had daddy. We'll just say that word, daddy, okay? I didn't exactly have that. I just kind of had a want for a dad, and I like cutesy stuff, but it was listed on my Tumblr, and this attracted Fox to me. He also really liked how young I sound and how I called him sir in my first call because it's how I was raised. So he told me that it was really super cute and, he liked it. And, he did a lot of roleplay stuff like boops and nuzzles and cuddles and stuff. And mind you, I was a very emotional, vulnerable person at the time. I had just gotten out of the hospital for attempted suicide. And the reason I was actually really depressed was because it was an anniversary of a death of someone I love, being an adopted mother of mine. So it was a really hard time for me. I didn't really have many people to rely on due to my living situation. Not going to give too much information on that. And as time went on, I think a week or two, he kind of, he pampered me. He kind of, told me how cute I am constantly, gave me roleplay cuddles, talked to me often, but he didn't really care about my emotional issues like my PTSD or depression or anything. He just kind of cared about the fact I'm cute and tiny and sound young. And he often brought up the daddy thing, wanting me to call him daddy and such. And I would tell him, it's not exactly something I find that I don't like it in that way, but I mean, I guess I can call you that. I do want a dad. And then things got very adult rated very fast. He would constantly want to roleplay, and it didn't make me that uncomfortable because I was still learning, but he would say very off-putting things that I didn't find were normal. And saying stuff like he wanted to molest me at a convention, because I did tell him, like, maybe we could meet at a convention, this summer. And he said how he wanted to do that at the convention to me. And I would ask him to stop, and he would keep saying it, and then I told him it was a turn off, then he stopped. And he said, oh, well, it's a term for affection, I've heard. And I didn't really understand that. But at the same time, I'm like, well, he does know more than me because, again, he was older. I trusted him. And another key part of this is he had me hide the fact we were dating for 5 months. He said it was to protect me from people he knew, like Sai and his friends, and that he had enemies because, again, he is a drama person in the community we were from. And we had an okay relationship with roleplay, but he never took no as an answer when it came to stuff. Like, he would try to get me into certain other things that he was into that I wasn't really into, but I wanted to try because I never actually tried it, and I said maybe I just would feel better if I tried it. It'd be rude not to try it. He would even do stuff on my no list, like stuff that would have to do with trauma of mine I've had, because I had some stuff happen as a child, and when I would say red light, because he would do red light, green light, he would go, oh, I'm sorry, sweetie, I'm just having so much fun. And he would keep going. And I would be crying on the other end in real life, having a panic attack, breaking down, and then I had to have my character break down to make him stop. And then he would tell me I was guilt tripping him, which made me feel bad, and it made me think, am I guilt tripping him? Is this bad? And when I would try to explain to him the reason I didn't want to do these things, he would tell me stuff like, you probably shouldn't have told me that, I'm not a professional, and all this other stuff. Now, I can understand if I was being too personal with a complete and utter stranger, but he said that he was sort of technically my boyfriend. And when you're with a romantic partner, you've got to learn that you have to take on that burden with them. You have to learn their burdens. You have to learn their secrets, and you have to be willing to give to them and be there for them, which he just didn't want to do. But I was blinded by love, and I was blinded by the fact that I was an emotionally vulnerable individual who never really had much better. And he knew this. He never corrected me and said it's just what humans do, or he would do things that weren't normal, like the molest comment. He was kind of my teacher, so I trusted him blindly. And finally, we revealed 5 months after we were dating at a convention that we met up at that we were dating, to his friends. And, you know, they all were really nice. They welcomed me with open arms. They said I was cute and tiny, and admittedly, that's something I never liked. I mean, it was one thing to be called cute by my partner, but to be called cute by people, to always be told how tiny and adorable and vulnerable and ditzy and airheaded I am, it didn't feel right. Plus, I didn't like being called cute because, again, stuff happened as a child. And when you live through that stuff as a child, you kind of... it affects you for life. And Fox also didn't really respect my pronouns. I'm a gender and I'm they, them. Call it cringy, call it fake, call it whatever you want. But here's the thing. Even if you find it cringy or fake or whatever, if you're dating someone and they go by those pronouns, wouldn't you at least try to respect them and be not hurtful to them? Like, I don't know. He would always tell me he liked my pronouns and he found it attractive and sexy and cute and exciting for some reason. But he never actually used the pronouns or referred to me as agender, except for when he was saying it that way. And after 5 months and we were at the hotel, he would always do stuff like make jokes about how my pants weren't on when I was under the covers when I was falling asleep and I couldn't respond because I didn't know what he was saying. And then people thought that we had sex and the first day we met, and it was embarrassing and I had to keep telling people we didn't. He would constantly do that while at the convention, and it made me really uncomfortable, but I also was told I was being too serious, so I just smiled and said and laughed and said it was okay, it was funny, it's nothing. A couple months passed by in the relationship and I had to move to a different state and I lost Wi-Fi and we sort of lost contact for a bit. We were here, online on and off, but for the most part we didn't talk much. During that time, I had experienced some sexual abuse by a mother figure in my own home, and he knew about this. Now, before the abuse happened, we had partaken in the mommy fetish, he liked being a character that was a female anime character of some sort being my mommy, and it felt okay, but then after the sexual abuse happened, I said, no more mommy. I can't do that. Around this time, I also told myself that it hurt to be called less attractive for my being agender, so I went back to female for him. And this is around the time he really started pushing for mommy. And I mean, he started doing it all the time. And he just never took no. Or he would take no, but punish me for it. And it wore me down. For months on end, he would just keep pushing mommy, but get mad when I didn't want to do it, say he would go offline, he was busy, or he would guilt trip me, say, sorry, I suck, and all that stuff. And eventually, he also started to get angry a lot easier with me, especially when I tried having intellectual conversations with people in Skype calls. We would be in his Skype group, and he would have friends who were politicians or people really into politics and stuff, and I would try to partake in these conversations. He would say stuff like when I didn't understand something, he would go, I don't get it. He would make me seem airheaded. He would make me seem like a cinnamon roll and that's all I was. That was all my being. Or he would actually get annoyed when I'd ask a question about something and he said he didn't want to bother explaining it because I wouldn't get it anyways. And, I actually started believing I was dumb. And I started believing that all these things people started saying about me, and it started doing a real mental toll on me. And on top of that, he didn't respect the fact that I have very severe body image issues. In fact, like I said in the video, he was the very cause of it. When I was first dating him, I didn't really have that big a problem with my body, but as time went on, I think dating someone who didn't even care about my emotional state and only cared for me sexually did a number on how I thought about myself. Physically, I wanted to be attractive for him. And unfortunately, this affected me and gave me some severe schizophrenia and some severe body dysmorphic dysphoria. He would even put my photo in his videos without my permission or even asking me, and when I would ask him to take it down, he would refuse, say it's not about my fifis, he caters to my every whim, why should he have to do this? It got to a point where I started slowly losing weight because I was also starved offline. That's why I was so skinny my whole life, is because I had some malnutrition issues. And he started telling me that he liked me being tiny and cute, and maybe I should start losing more weight. And I was worried because I was like, hey, my ribs are showing. And he said, well, I don't know about health-wise, but I think you're perfect just the way you are, my little dolly. That was his nickname for me, Dolly. He liked calling me things that were childish, and he liked seeing me as an actual child, too. In fact, he one time tricked me into role-playing sexually underage characters, and I feel ashamed of it to this day. And there were just some other very pedophilic things in the relationship I can't really go into because it's kind of complicated. And on top of that, he would say things other than just wanting to molest me, like, maybe we should try hypnosis so you can't move, and all this really disturbing things that made me feel really uncomfortable. But he also told me that I was just too sensitive, and he would always tell me how I was the best girl he ever dated, how I was a walking dream, how he fell in love with me more every day. He made me feel really special because my life was surrounded by darkness. Only when my life started getting better did I start feeling off with him, especially because his anger just kept getting worse. It got to a point that when I was already starving myself, when he would get very angry at me and yell at me, annoyed, pissed off, overwhelmed, things he said, I would just start starving myself more and more. And it didn't help about the fact he made fun of my weight in front of his friends all the time, making fun of how skinny I am, how little I eat, and such. The relationship finally came to an end after a year of this constant battle and deluge of gaslighting, manipulation, grooming, and mental abuse. And it finally came to an end when one day, a week after we visited, he first off told me, when I told him that his friends called me a whore for wanting to have sex with him, that I didn't please him enough on the visit, and I was bullshit about that. And then finally, what broke the straw on the camel's back is he pushed for mommy fetish once again, and for once didn't take a no and kept nudging. And I finally told him, if you bring it up again, we're done. I'm not doing this. And, at first it was confusing because he said he was sorry, that we could try new things, we could try different things. And I said, yeah, okay, cool. And then immediately turned it around like he was the victim. Like he was the one that needed a break. He was the one walking on eggshells with me, and finally brought me to his public Skype group to be humiliated, told me get out, and that was the end of it. I brought my story to the public and the fandom I was in because I didn't want any other person to get hurt who dated him. Because unfortunately, I'm not his only ex. In fact, I'm his longest running ex. I lasted a year. Everyone else lasted 4, 5, maybe 6 months. I was the one that stayed longest because I was the most loyal. I loved him so much. I wanted to help him change. I knew he could be a good person, or so I thought. After the breakup, it doesn't get much better because he made a video on his channel completely lying about how the breakup happened and why the breakup happened and a lot of other things. Other people got involved, other people started stalking me, other people started saying how I don't deserve social media. They even at one point made fun of the fact I was suicidal over everything and called me pathetic. Ran a slander campaign against my GoFundMe so I would lose money and be homeless, and a lot of other stuff. They have it in their mind I'm such a liar manipulator when they didn't really even ask me for my side of the story. And when they did, they wouldn't let me speak or show evidence and just kept saying they don't believe me. I'm sorry that this video, is a vent and stuff like that. I guess dark thoughts surround me. I have a wonderful boyfriend right now that I've known for 3 or 4 years that I actually was going to date before I dated Fox, but Fox got to me first, then isolated me from every boy that I ever was able to contact who wasn't a friend of his, that he could watch me in a visible area because he didn't trust me, because in his own words, well, he was dating someone dumb. And he isolated me from my current boyfriend, who was my best friend at the time, who had a crush on me and I had a crush on him. I was loyal to Fox, but for some reason he thought that I couldn't speak to any other guy. And even worse is I was the loyal one because the reason he kept pushing for mommy fetish is he wanted a threesome. He didn't even want to tell me he wanted one. He just wanted to train me like a dog to want one, then warm me up to the idea and work in a second girl. One wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. I don't know. People probably are gonna say things like, I can't get over my ex, if they're watching this. And, who could get over someone who taught them that the abuse was affection? Who taught them that they're a burden for saying no? Who could get over the fact that they were gaslighted so heavily and changed their personality and got an eating disorder and a lot of other mental stuff that they just can't really heal? I've been trying to get therapy and help, but it's been difficult. Especially because I had to delete all of social media, start again, and I'm still being stalked, and I just kind of don't know what to do anymore, I guess, It just feels like this constant cycle of me trying to prove my innocence, people shouting over me, calling me a manipulator, a liar, and a cunt, and twisting my words around, not giving the full story, not asking my side of the story, and just, it's a constant cycle, and I'm tired. And I had to get this off my chest. I'm not going to give any names, like I said, but this needed to be said. If you're in an abusive relationship and someone is taking hold of you or telling you that you shouldn't say no, gets mad at you for saying no, and wants to do something to you with intimacy, be it roleplay or real life, because contrary to popular belief, it isn't just roleplay. That was the big argument during all of this, is he didn't abuse you, it's just roleplay. But what people don't understand is when someone is doing a fictional sexual roleplay, more often than not, it's intimate and personal for the reasons of the roleplay, to get pleasure from it, which is a personal experience, and if you say no to something, they should respect that. That's a reason why it's illegal to roleplay sexually with minors, because it can do physical and mental damage to them. Not physical, mental, and emotional. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm sorry again about this. This is a really long, stupid video, but I just guess I needed to say something. I needed to get a lot of stuff off my chest that's been really weighing on me, and it's been consuming me for 6 to 7 months since all of this went down, and I finally have a place that I can safely vent about things. I'm moving on with my life. I'm going back to Massachusetts with my mother, and things are slowly getting better for me, but at the same time, the memories eat away at me. I'll be sitting at my computer drawing or listening to music, and the memories just crash down on me like a weight. They just tell me and scream at me. Whenever I try to get close to my boyfriend, I always get memories of my ex, and it hurts. He implanted himself so deeply into my life and became the main thing that he wanted to be, and then got mad at me when he realized he had to deal with my emotional issues and not just me being his little toy, being his sexual buddy, his anything. Even when we broke up, I didn't really think I was being abused. I only realized it because a very close friend of mine told me, I think that this is a friend with benefits situation. I don't think he actually loved you. And it was a second opinion because it made me realize how bad it was. Stockholm Syndrome, I think it was, because I loved my captor. He isolated me. He trained me, told me that he was protecting me. He gifted me with riches of love and cuddles and praise, had a reward and punishment system. He trained me and I was the little dog. He said, bark, I barked. There were times where I was disobedient because I am my own person and I'm not someone to be controlled. I have my own actions. I think that just about covers as much as I can think of at the moment. There was probably a lot more that I left out because there was just so much that happened in the relationship that I could write a novel about it. And even after the relationship, it got to the point with the stalking, I had to call the police. And again, I'm not giving Fox's name or aliases or even the fandom we were in, because I feel that he deserves the respect of privacy and doesn't deserve to be witch hunted. It is in the past, and I am moving forward, and I hope he is too. I really hope that he is moving on with his life. I do think that he shouldn't be dating anyone, and he should get mental help for his sex addiction and whatever else it is he has. He is a very manipulative individual who has a silver tongue, and I pray that anyone who dates him, he truly does date because he loves them and not because he wants something sexual from them, because he did that with another person he dated right after me. He went after someone just as emotionally vulnerable. I think that just about covers it. Sorry about this video. Again, I know I keep saying that, but I guess I just feel the need to keep saying sorry. This isn't one of those big vent videos like Jaden Animations or anyone else did. This is just kind of something to get my abuse off my chest because it's a very unique type of abuse that not many people go through. I'm not sure if anyone else has gone through it. And maybe I am crazy, maybe I am just over emotional and overreactive, but it's still my experience I went through, and it still affects me very deeply to this day. If there's ever an older male that's around 30, 40 years old, proximity, off or online, I can't really be near them without having a panic attack or thinking they just want something because of my body. Because I'm this sweet, petite little person who looks like a child. I often get mistaken for a 12 or 13-year-old offline because I'm 4 feet 10 inches, and you can hear how young I sound in my voice. This was a very hard thing to do, but recent events have occurred where I realized that the stalking just isn't going to end, and I guess it's just time I get things off my chest properly. Now, I don't even know where I was going with that last line. if you're tired and you're pissed off, or you just don't like this video, that's fine. I understand. I completely understand. It's me being a whiny little bitch. I'm probably going to make sure that this is viewer discretion or mature, just in case of YouTube guidelines. I'm not sure. I think I'll be okay because it's not showing anything sexual. You know, people talk about this stuff all the time. It's just not going to be monetized, but I don't even have a fan base. It's probably not ever going to be monetized. I want to thank you guys for sticking around and listening, and I'm sorry that, you know, me being this person trying to be an animator started off my channel with a stupid cringy face reveal trying to defend Wolfie Jew because of my body image issues and trying to explain how my voice is like hers, and this video venting about my sexually and mentally abusive ex-boyfriend Fox. But I guess I just needed to get some stuff off my chest tonight. I don't know. Your mind goes into dark places, especially at nighttime. I'm probably rambling at this point. Anyways, thank you all for listening, and, you know, like I always say, let's continue to inspire each other.